Hey guys, I wanted to come in and talk about G19 and a half slash G20 slash Xavier slash the future of the meta and where I think things are going. I think a lot of things are about to change if they haven't started changing already. I just had a Crucible match where, I versed things that were absolutely ridiculously big. He had equipped every G19 and a half piece he could get his hands on. He took Orcus up to the moon. He took Astral to the moon. Um, he was already thinking about the future, and that's a place where I've always kind of played the game. Is I try to be 1 foot into the future as best I can, and where I think things are heading. And I think I have a pretty decent perspective on where things are heading because of, between the data mines and Boilon leaking stuff, and just the character releases that we know that are coming up, doing the community polls. So I wanted to take next week and kind of look at where my roster's at, where my resources are at, and how I'm going to best accomplish completing the Xavier trial and preparing my roster for the future. Because the best way you've always played this game is to be top heavy, not being taller rather than wider. Um, and there's some things that we know about the game right now that are changing. That they're changing how we perceive certain characters. So, like for example, we are starting to see characters where they're if they go G19 and a half, they get 640,000 damage and or 640,000 health and 41,000 damage. Well, that's not what that is. That's more like 3 million health and a million damage. Um, but then we have characters like, just for an example, Mysterio, who gets 110 focus and 120 resistance. That is a big swing in a character and how they perform. If Mysterio sits at 3 million health and Oath all of a sudden gets an extra 3 million health, like Mysterio 3 million health. Oath, I'm pretty sure is like 9. She has 9. She's probably like 11 after you put that item on. So that changes matchups. I went into Crucible this week and took S6 into Liberty, who S6 normally runs over Liberty. Um, Liberty won because they had their 19 and a half pieces, and S6 just didn't have the damage to get through it before they got out sustained. Um, and that wasn't the only matchup I saw that in. Orcus out sustained Night Stalkers. Orcus out sustained Cabal. The counters that were working didn't work. Astro out sustained everything I threw at it, and Astro deleted my team before it even got a chance. So next season, I plan to have 19 and a half equipped for sure. But I'm leaving some caveats in there. I think there's room for growth, and I want to leave that because there's a chance that some things will change how we go about our approach, especially on the time frame that you get in there. Um, Things we know right now is we know that Xavier requires Lilandra, so we're gonna automatically upgrade her. She's already part of the Hero Cosmic team. There's only 4 slots. We know there's Villain Cosmic. We know there's Hero Global. We know there's Villain Global. We know there's City. Um, so that's going to be the first impression I'm using when determining what I'm upgrading. Is I don't want to exceed those groups right now unless I have abundance. Now there are characters I have abundance on, and I'll show you one. So I have an abundance on Oath right now. I have 170 of her mini unique, or of her unique. So I probably will equip Blade and Oath with their pieces, even if I don't use them, because I have so many. Now, there's other characters where I have very few, and I'm going to be very strict on where I use them. But right now, I'm kind of just winging that. I made a tier list. It's not perfect, but it was mainly the main goal of it was to show where I think the growth is for G20. Um, because I think it's more important this next season that we're tall than we are wide. So things I'm no longer doing and I'm not even considering is the Omega Red event. I'm done with it. I am not going for 7 red. I don't see a reason to. It's expensive. We knew it was like 900 million gold. I need gold for what's to come in the future. Um, if I get a couple more milestones, great, but it's not something I'm chasing. Okay, next, characters older than Illuminati, I am taking a hard look at. Do they make the cut? Because their uniques don't have much stats, so they don't get a huge bump from 19 and a half. But the characters after Illuminati do, um, and it gets worse after Omega Red. Like they get even more. So the eras that have been going on are really showing their age. Um, as far as that goes, I've got this split up not in order, but more so by their type. So like Hero Cosmic, I would say everyone is locked in except Strange. I'm leaving that slot kind of open, but Strange also requires less mini uniques, so he may end up being my guy. Um, Villain Cosmic, I would say Null, Mephisto, Shadow King are locked in for sure. The last two, I'm pretty sold on Thanos, but I'm not 100%. Stroll, I still think is an amazing character. I think he's good enough, but he is expensive. He is 5 pieces and he is on old stats. So, could I take Gore or Gladiator or something else? Possibly. I'm not pulling the trigger on him yet. I'm just waiting. Um, Villain Global, it gets a little more iffy because I don't know time frames right now on when things are coming out or when I will reach the Xavier trial. I will try to be within some of the first, but I got to be within reason. Um, so Omega Red Phoenix Force, he has one of the best upgrades in the game. I'm taking him up. Sentinel and Omega, they just are amazing with extra stats. Sentinel is, I think, becoming one of the better pre-taunts in the game right now because Gladiator got nerfed by Lilandra. He's still good, but he's not. Sentinel's better. Um, Omega Sentinel and Sentinel just work really well together. The next two is Ghost and Taskmaster. We know there's reworks coming for them. We saw Taskmaster stats go live accidentally in the game and they get pulled away. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes live at some point. That movie comes out May 6th. They could go live in the middle of April and we wouldn't be surprised by that at all. So if I choose not to bring them, I would probably bring Orcus members. But I really don't want to bring Orcus members. I think the other ones stink. I don't think full Orcus is ever good enough, but I think Sentinel and Omega are plug and play. Um, Hero Global, the one I think for sure is a no-brainer is Emma X-Men because of her counterplay against Null. I think she will be arena meta because of that. I also think Phoenix will be arena meta or will be Crucible meta because of Omega Red. So those two are the two I'm really thinking about. Phoenix does get less stats because she's an old character that got reworked, and those characters don't get a lot of stats, but I still think you'd take her. So I am pausing on putting anything on her right now. And then the three Liberty members all get crazy stat pieces. They all have good kits, and when they're big, they are hard to kill. So I am really considering them. I have not made the decision to pull the trigger yet, but I am thinking about it. And I probably will do something next week once we see the rooms and what's involved with Crucible. City. Like I said, Oath and Blade, they use that piece that nobody uses. I'm taking them up for sure. I don't know if we will end up doing 5 Vigilante into that area, or if we will do Oath and Blade and 3 Vigilante. I am being very hesitant on that. I don't think you ever take Spider Society. I think they're too power crept. I think they're still good, but I think if G20 is strict, then we want to take the best of the best. So I am waiting right now to find out what goes on there, but I put 3 guys that, and Daredevil's not getting a rework, just a heads up. I think it's going to be a new Daredevil, but I just threw him up there to kind of showcase him. So that's what I'm thinking right now. Other characters that I think are good but are expensive or maybe aren't as good, they won't get as much stats. APOC, Black Knight, Old Man Logan, Britain. They're all good characters, but they are very expensive. And APOC's 5 pieces. Old Man Logan and Black Knight are on old stats. I'm hesitant on it. I also wanted to talk on the Dark Promo characters. I don't think any of them are worth putting anything into right now. I think you're better off hoarding. Um, we've seen comments from the community council that they're talking about that system. I, we've seen content creators tell us that the battle pass is worthless. I think that system's going to get reworked sooner rather than later, and because of that, I am hoarding like crazy on those resources. Because right now, the only ones I consider worth upgrading is Mephisto, Odin, um, Shadow King, and that's the list. Like, if Old Man Logan Diamonds came out today, I probably wouldn't buy them. If Britain Diamonds came out today, I probably wouldn't buy them. They're on old stats. So, do I want a character that gets 20 million health with diamonds, or do I want a character that gets 5 million health? 5 million health is becoming unplayable. So, I'm not willing to pull the trigger on those kind of characters. So, again, I want to reiterate, we want, and the only other thing that we haven't really talked about is we thank the vigilante teams for a raid. If we have a new team coming for a new raid, we need to start thinking about raid characters, because we know if a new raid's coming that we most likely have power creep coming. Are they going to require purple ISO? Are they going to require purple ISO 4 and 5? Are they going to require gear 20? That might force us to upgrade old raid tunes. So that is another thing that we need to start thinking about, and I don't want to spend all of my resources and not have enough to participate in the raids at the highest tier. So I am very much 1 foot out the doors in this current meta and 1 foot into the new meta, even though we don't know it yet. So even if it means I don't do as well in the Crucible this next season, which I will try to do the best I can, but I also don't want to overinvest in things I don't think are going to sustain themselves for the next month. They're just done. Oh, and the last piece that I wanted to touch on is my tier list is not a tier list. It's more about the top end. It's more about G20. These characters I think are all amazing. The 19.5 characters I still think are good and amazing. The 105 characters are still good. They're all meta characters. But the further you go down this list, the more power crept it is, the more it's almost out of the meta, the less I would want to invest in it. The more I think the top end matters so much more than being wide. So just understand that. And then, I threw 2 reworks in there that we've heard rumors of that I don't know what's going on with, but I'm not pulling the trigger on anything down here in the bottom. These niche characters, I still use them. They're great characters. The dark promo characters, if they get reworks, I will absolutely grab them immediately. The 100 characters, some of these are war meta teams. Some of them are, good characters, but they're not things I'm investing in anymore. The G19 characters, a lot of them I've already G19'd. I wouldn't tell you to do that now. The 105 characters, a lot of these I've already 105'd, but some of them I may not have, and if I'm not taking them to G20, I'm probably not putting them at 105. So that's kind of where I'm at. I generally do like 1 level a day. The 19.5 characters, that list could get a little bit bigger as I discover where my uniques are and where I have excess that I can choose to upgrade characters, and that could change who I take to 105 and who I want to, because again, I want to be tall, not wide. So if I take things to 105, I want to put 19.5 on them. If I'm planning on things going to G20, I'm going to take them to 105. Like, G19 is my baseline. I take everything to G19 now. 105 is you're better than average. 19.5's you're really good. G20 is you're the best. And that's how we need to approach the game again. It's kind of just like when we had 18 and the other tiers come out, when we went from 17 to 18 and some of the other gear tiers. Tell me what you guys think. Do you like my thoughts on this?